Hello everyone, and welcome to Restore Your Everyday. I am your host, Cosi Belloso, physical therapist, amputee specialist. And today I have with me my very first guest at the Restore Your Everyday studio set. So please meet my friend, Susanne Hathaway. Susanne, thank you so much for coming here today.
Glad to be here.
So just a little background as to how Susanne came to be my very first guest. I had been living in Tampa, in Florida, since my high school years when my dad retired from the military. And at the time, my violin was kind of starting to take off. And in the community that I was playing in was this amazing young lady who played a beautiful, beautiful cello. And I remember throughout my high school years just admiring so much Susanne's playing. And our paths would occasionally cross and we would get the chance to play together every once in a while. And life happened, and we both went off to college and went on with our lives. And then our lives rejoined again a few years later in a really interesting story. So I'm going to stop talking for a little bit, and I want you to tell us a little bit about your story. What happened after high school years?
Well, I had accepted a scholarship to attend University of Memphis for cello performance, because that was my main thing in high school. It was all about the music. It was like my identity and what I did. So I went off to study cello performance. But my very first semester, my professor was like, all right, you're going to go start teaching. And I was like, wait a second.
What? No, what?
Exactly. Like, I just got here. How can I do that? It's like, well, I have a feeling this will be a good fit for you. So I did. I started teaching, loved it, fell in love with just the joy of learning, which I had been doing with my music anyway for as long as I can remember without realizing it. So anyway, I went off and fell in love with teaching. And when the cello performance thing didn't seem like a viable career for me, I switched my major to music education and came back to Tampa, studied at USF, and went on from there. I've been teaching ever since.
Wonderful. And then in my own timeline, I was also at college, and shortly after I started my family with my husband, we moved back here to Tampa. And I remember seeing Susanne. We both played at the same church together and just saying, oh, I remember Susanne. And then, what was it, 2 years ago now?
Yes, 2017.
So, 2017. I was finishing my treatment from breast cancer, and Susanne was beginning her journey. And I remember receiving a phone call from someone saying Susanne was recently diagnosed with diabetes and unfortunately developed a wound in her leg that resulted in a below-the-knee amputation. So it was right during the time that I was recovering from my treatment, and Susanne was starting her journey, and I was starting to open up my own clinic for amputees and teaching them how to walk. So you went through this whole process, and eventually you went home.
I did.
You went home. And so from an everyday standpoint, what were some of the biggest challenges you had when you first came home?
Oh, just finding my new normal. I mean, you hear that all the time, but it's like things are going to be different, but they're going to go on. And one thing that I had to do is just learning how to get up out of bed, learning how to take a shower, learning how to use my walker. And I have an iWalk, which is amazing, that I use all the time, even now, 2 years later, in the middle of the night. But even though there's so many things that are different, there's definitely a way to move forward through an experience like
Everything like that. Now, when did you start learning to use your prosthesis? At what point in your recovery were you fit?
90 days after my amputation, which was June 1st of 2017.
Okay.
I got the clearance from my surgeon to go ahead and get a prosthetic made, which I was very excited about. So I was able to go there and get casted and everything like that, and I was very excited because being very busy as a musician, it's like nonstop, and I was ready to get back to my everyday life.
So going back to the musician, how was your playing impacted? Because as a cellist, obviously you're using both legs to balance the instrument while you're playing. So how was that affected?
Well, I honestly didn't play for a long time, probably close to like 2 weeks short of that 90 days when I got my prosthesis. I was just anxious about it. So I finally sat down. I didn't have my prosthesis yet, but I was like, all right, I'm going to try this out. What's the worst that could happen, And so I just had, my leg hanging there and sat down and did it. And I was like, this is not as hard as I thought it would be.
Okay, good.
So that was amazing. But then when I got the prosthesis, just because I have a pin lock system, the cover would get in the way a little bit, so I just have to change the angle a little bit. But it's nothing major. I mean, nothing is stopping me from playing the cello. So I'm very thankful for that.
Love it. No, and honestly, just recovering from my own surgeries, part of my joy was getting to play violin, and just getting to church, getting to play just for even a little bit of time, to keep you going. So here's my favorite part. Restore Your Everyday, it's all about the aha moment, the moment that you realize that life is going to go on, that it's not going to be ever the same again, but it will go on and be good. And the moment or the moments that you realize that this is going to happen. What do you think was one of your aha moments in realizing life was going to go on?
Well, honestly, there's so much information out on the internet with, this group, and there was one group of videos that I watched from the OT amputee or amputee OT.
Yes.
She has amazing videos about how to, start your everyday in a new way. And I was like, wow, if she can do it, then I can do it. So that was a huge help. And then just my community, my family, I mean, there was so many wonderful people surrounding me and encouraging me. So that was kind of my aha.
No, and I remember I have to share this story. So, Susanne was recovering from her surgery. I was recovering from my own treatments. And about a year later, I think it was a year later, we were both invited to play at a friend's wedding. And her name is Abby. And Abby's a wonderful person. She's a local DJ at one of our local radio stations. And I remember we were both, I was standing, you were sitting to play, and I just remember looking at Susanne going, oh my gosh, who would have told us back in our high school days that we would both have our own personal journeys that we were going through, and that it would come back together again at this beautiful celebration of a wedding of a friend, and both of us getting to play together. And I just remember just playing the opening chords going, you just can't make this up. This is just, this is just like what both of us have had to go through it, and coming back. So super cool moment, super wonderful moment. So tell me about, and this is from a physical therapy standpoint, I always love hearing from my patients and things. What is your favorite survival tip? What is something that you've learned how to do that's just a little bit different from the textbook?
Oh, from the textbook.
Meaning not what your PT would tell you to do.
Right. Well, I always have socks with me because you never know when the volume of my limb is going to change. So I always have extra socks, because as soon as something starts to go wrong, I have to get on it right away, because that's what I've learned over this during this journey anyway. So.
And you mentioned using the iWalk. That's a new hack.
Yes.
You got to tell me about that.
iWalk. Oh my goodness. So I couldn't use it until the 90 days was up, because when your knee is bent, it can have contraction and everything. But once that was up, I was like, all right, I'm getting around, because before that I was using wheelchair, and crutches were super dangerous for me. So anyway, the iWalk is it's basically a knee crutch, and it's strapped to the bottom of your leg, and I can get around in the middle of the night and do things that I need to do when I don't have my prosthesis on. So it's a great thing.
There you go. Favorite survival tip. So Susanne, thank you so much for being here today. I know it's sometimes difficult sharing our personal stories, and you have such a beautiful story. And I cannot imagine having anyone else as my first special guest. So folks, stick around. We are not done with you yet. We have such a special segment for you of Susanne and I playing together a duet. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about proprioception and some exercises that you can do that will help you get back on track with your proprioception and your gait training. So as always, guys, remember to sign up for our updates so that you can start receiving the special emails at www.restoreyoureveryday.com. And I'll be seeing you as you restore your everyday.